And good morning, everyone, and welcome to Small Biz Matters, the half-hour program where you work on your business rather than in it. My name is Alexi Boyd, your trusted advisor with all things admin, all things small business, and we are in the middle of a guest fest. My regular listeners will know we've had quite a number of guests imparting their knowledge about their expertise, and we have another one in the room, which I'm thrilled to be able to have. Very timely as well. If we've all been feeling the heat, we've all been thinking about our energy bills. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sitting at home just feeling guilty for turning on the air conditioning, much to my husband's chagrin. But I think what we need to do is we need to start being conscious of that as businesses. So today it's a great piece of timing. Thank you, Weather, for introducing my next guest. And we've actually got Gareth Huxham, who is here from Huxham Energy Consulting. He's talking to us all about energy sustainability and how to sort of integrate that into your business strategy as well. Welcome to the show, Gareth.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on this morning.
Yeah, as I was saying, it's crazy this weather. It is
gorgeous just walking to the radio station outside for 5 minutes. That is crazy today, yeah.
Absolutely nuts.
The AC's on.
And what I find astounding as well is we're not even getting any relief. You know, you get that usual southerly blowing through and it does. I do feel, my regular listeners will know I do harp on about this a little bit, but I am concerned for the future of days like today that seem to be getting further and further. There's more and more frequency to them, and they're becoming more and more intense. And I think that we have to accept that the fact that this is the future, and what do we need to do to adapt, as businesses. And I think that's one good thing we are very good at doing as small businesses, adapting to our greater the world that we live in, not only, but the environmental and the financial concerns. But that's one of the things we're going to talk about today, is actually looking at your bills and making a change for the better, not only for the environment and sustainability, but also for your hip pocket.
Definitely, yes. So I'm an energy consultant. So I work with a range of clients, and that ranges from councils to apartment buildings, looking at the common areas. And my main focus is with businesses. And with businesses, I work with large and small. So I've worked with universities, with manufacturing sites, and these businesses may be spending, say, $1 or a couple of $1 million a year. And I also work down with the small businesses who may be spending, $5,000 to $20,000 per year as well. So I work with that whole sort of cross range of businesses. And we talk about sustainability.
What sort of things do you think about when you think about sustainability with your clients? What is it they're trying to, when they think of sustainability, what are they thinking of? Are they think about their business and their financial sustainability, or? Yeah,
there's two different perspectives on sustainability. Often when I talk about sustainability, and possibly when you do too, we talk about the environmental sustainability. So that's when we talk about trying to reduce your energy usage in order to try to reduce your greenhouse emissions. So it's trying to reduce your electricity usage, reduce your natural gas, reduce the amount of petrol and diesel. It's about reducing the water you use. Also reducing your waste, the amount of waste that your business will generate, and the amount of waste that's going to landfill. So these are the environmental sustainability factors. But when we talk about sustainability, we're also talking about resource efficiency, because all of these different factors have an input cost to your business. So you have to pay for all your kilowatt hours of electricity, all your megajoules of gas, all the water that you use, you have to pay for, and all the waste that has to be collected from your business is something that has to be paid for. And even recycling, you have to pay for that recycling service too. And so managing the sustainability factors for your business is really about resource efficiency and reducing the input cost to your business. And so ideally we're looking for that double win where, yes, we want to reduce the cost of your business and we want to reduce your environmental impact at the exact same time. So with sustainability, there's two different sides. There's the environmental and it's the cost side. And ideally, they both marry up together and we get that win-win situation.
Especially for the business, that's right. So is this what we're talking about, just from a layman's perspective, when people are talking about carbon footprint? Is this sort of rolled into that subject?
Yeah, so the carbon footprint is all about what's the total amount of greenhouse emissions that your business is generating. And for a lot of small businesses, that may purely be due to your electricity usage. But if you have a small fleet or if you have a work car, then there's also the petrol or diesel associated with that too. There's also greenhouse emissions associated with your waste going to landfill. So any biodegradable waste that goes to landfill, that's going to degrade and that's going to have greenhouse emissions too and methane. So we do greenhouse assessments of businesses, and it's often quite interesting to see say, what is the major source of greenhouse emissions? It may be electricity, or it may be something a little bit different that you didn't think about. So it's important to try to have a bit of better idea and understanding of how is your business generating these greenhouse emissions, and then what's the best way to target that.
So it's about the input, which is what you're paying, and trying to reduce that, and then the output, which is reducing the environmental impact that you're having with your business.
Exactly, for sure. Yeah.
Reductions all round.
Yeah, exactly. And we save money at the same time.
Yeah, it's win-win, as you were saying. So what is it that led you into this area? And obviously being a consultant, it's a big step taking that step out of the world that you were in, whether that's studying and then straight into becoming a consultant. Did you see a need for that, or was it a conversation that you had with someone that led you down that path?
Yeah, look, definitely there was the interesting environmental issues from a long time ago, but I used to work for one of the larger energy consultancies in Australia and working on the large corporate jobs. So they have the large clients like your BHP, your Rio Tinto, your Commonwealth Bank.
How do you reduce their carbon footprint? My God.
Yeah, and it's important to work with those big players too. But when I was with this corporate, in this corporate position, a lot of the smaller business who were coming to us, we were just turning them away. The business model was not to work with the smaller businesses. They were too busy. So I could see there was this need to say, look, there's all these smaller businesses who are coming at us asking for help, but that's just not what that sort of larger corporate player could do. So I left that corporate position and started off on my own and set up my own small business to really focus on these small and medium-sized businesses and try to give to them the same type of services that we would be giving to, say, Commonwealth Bank or Woolworths, but to bring that down to a smaller level and to help out the smaller, mid-sized businesses.
Because I suppose the process that you go through is largely the same. The bigger businesses just have more of that output and more of that the resources that they use, as opposed to the smaller. It's fundamentally the same sort of thing. Everybody uses computers. Everyone uses printers.
It's the exact same formula. Yeah,
just
whether it's applied on a large
about.
Scale to a business that has 100 sites, or just whether one small site. It's the exact same formula that you use to try to find out what's the best way to reduce your energy usage and to reduce those costs.
What I find really interesting as well is what you were mentioning at the beginning in terms of the process, and I think this is an interesting educational opportunity for people to realise that you don't need to find a niche consultant necessarily that goes, okay, well, I only look after car yards, or I only look after consultants who are working from home. As you said, because this is a process that can be used unilaterally across business sizes or across different sectors, you don't necessarily need to find a consultant. So if somebody was looking for an energy consultant, what would they be asking? What should they be looking for, apart from experience and referrals and recommendations? What should they hope to get out of the process at the end of it?
Yeah, I guess what you're asking is, why do you engage an energy consultant, or what's sort of the factors there? So when we work with our clients, it's all about helping our clients to, one, understand their energy usage, and that's a really big factor where a lot of small businesses don't have the time to really invest and to understand all the different type of energy issues that may be affecting their business. So to help them understand it, and then we look at options to how can we reduce your energy usage and energy costs, and then we can help them actually implement that and measure that down the track. So with an energy consultant, what's
the first step? Do they come to you and go, oh my God, my energy bill has just completely gone through the roof. What have I done? Is something broken? Why is it suddenly more expensive? I guess
that is exactly the first step. So a lot of businesses call me with that exact same question. So we get a lot of scenarios where there may be a new business which is setting up for the first time, and they may have planned out a different type of operating cost for their business. But after a couple of months and these first electricity bills start coming through, they may go, oh, okay, I didn't quite realize that my electricity costs are going to be quite as high. I didn't quite plan for this. We need to look into this now and address this to reduce these costs. And when you're starting up a new business, or if you move into a new premise, that's a really important time, because ideally you're there for the long term. And so getting on top of the energy costs straight away is really important.
It's like anything. You want to set up correctly. You want to get your processes and procedures in place. That's what we harp on a lot about in this show, is just getting things set up in the first place, instead of coming 3-5 years down the track
don't wait 3 or 5 years and then look back and go, oh, why didn't you call me 3 or 5 years ago? You saved so much. So there's a lot of new businesses. There's a lot of businesses that are maybe growing and they're maybe moving to a new site. And they may have said, look, at our old site 6 months ago, we're paying X amount. We've gone to this new site, which seems it's a little bit bigger but quite similar, but now we're paying twice or 3 times
and we're
as
doing
much.
Exactly the same thing.
And we're doing the exact same thing. We've got maybe one more person, maybe we've got the same amount of people, but why have our costs gone up this high? So that's when there's a really strong need to say, okay, what were you paying before? What were you using before? What's changed? And how can we reduce that and get it back to what it was?
I think what's interesting as well is the fact that we would often think about this process when we're at home. And we do get those door knockers coming along and saying, you know, I can't. I had this guy come to me I think it was last weekend. They came and knocked on the door, and it was one of those stinking hot days. I was like, what? And they said, oh, we're going to save you energy on your energy bill. I said, no, you're not, because I'm not going to talk to you. I'm fine. Thank you. I have the nous. I can go and do this myself. And as he walked away, he muttered, well, I was just trying to save you money. So, no, you weren't. You're working on commission. You're just trying to make some money.
Yeah,
so
we all are to some degree, but it's trying to help too.
Yes, exactly. Maybe he really had his heart and his passion in it.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting is we, as small business, it's this disassociation that we struggle with. And in a way, when we try to look at energy efficiency, that's a good thing, because we're always concerned about the amount of money we're personally spending for things. We do try and search out and research those things to try and save our money in our home, and applying that to our business. I think it's easier for small businesses and people who are sole traders, because you go, hey, this is my money.
Yeah.
You know, whereas if as you become bigger in your medium-sized business and you've got multiple people who have got ownership in the business, you don't sit there and think about it. It's the philosophy of it. You don't analyse those things. You just keep on forking the money out. Yeah,
it just comes out. Every monthly bill just keeps coming out.
And nobody really gives it any thought. But if the same thing happened in your home, where you moved houses and you went, hang on, how did that happen? Actually, the exact same thing happened to me. We moved houses. We were in a strata plan where there were 2 units. And now I've moved to a house where I have to now water the garden, because it was previously a bush garden. People who live around here will know all about that. And I have to water the garden. I am using 1/3 of the water I was using 12 months ago in this other place. So what on earth were the people upstairs doing that I'm only using 1/3? Either that, or I'm completely destroying my garden because I'm not watering enough. But it's those little analysis things. So what do we look at when we look at those bills? Let's think about a bill that's presented to us and suddenly you see a spike or a fall, or is that what you should be looking at? How do we really analyse our energy usage without sitting there with those contraptions that you plug in and go, okay, on the Tuesday, the printer takes this amount of energy, and on a Wednesday, the computer, this takes a minute, and then we put it on a spreadsheet and then we work it all out. How do you really know what machinery is taking up the most amount of energy in your office space?
Yeah, so when we start talking about your equipment, the energy usage, we may touch on that a little bit later, but maybe just focus on the bill for now and just trying to understand exactly what's happening with these bills. Because another reason a lot of businesses contact me, they may have been in the same site for 3 or 5 years, but they've seen the increase in these electricity prices. And right now in New South Wales, across the eastern seaboard, down in Victoria, down in South Australia, prices are incredibly high. They're higher than they've ever been. If you look at the futures wholesale price for electricity over the past 12 months, you just look at the graph, it's just shot up like nothing else. And it's pretty full on at the moment. It's pretty scary. So the prices are at record highs, and a lot of businesses are getting their bills and they are recognising that, hey, this is a lot higher than it used to be. We've seen massive price increases over the past 5 years. A lot of that was due to what was called the gold plating of the electricity network, where the electricity network was heavily investing in itself, and that was really driving up prices. Since then, that's died off because they got a bit of, got a lot of slack for that, so they've had to hold off a little bit. But now the actual cost of producing these electrons in the power stations, that's what's going up right now. And that's due to a whole range of factors, including the mining of the LNG, the export market with that. We won't get into that, but suffice to say that right now electricity prices are at crazy record highs.
There's a reason why you're seeing those really heaped on increases.
Yes. So now is a really important time for a lot of businesses to sort of
analyse it.
To analyse and to reflect and see what can we do. So a lot of businesses who are recognising that and they're saying, hey, these costs are just getting, beyond what we can handle. We need to manage this. So it's really important for a small business to try to understand how they're being billed and to see whether there's an opportunities there, because a lot of sites are not being billed properly. And it is really complex. The electricity market in New South Wales is really complex, and it can be quite hard for a small business owner to really understand, am I on the best rates? Am I being billed appropriately or not? In the first place to start, if you have your bill, is just to look at the front or the back and try to see somewhere if it talks about your plan, whether it says business saver or business standard, or whether it says something like domestic or residential or home saver or rate. Because a lot of businesses we find are still being billed on a residential account, because a lot of homes these days are being turned into small businesses, into offices. So a really simple thing to check is, first of all, are you classified as a business account or are you classified as a residential account?
But aren't they just going to hit you for more if you're a business account?
If you change to a business account, it won't make much of a cost difference, but it's still important to be on a business account for the next steps in the process. So whether you're residential or a small business, the rates are actually very, very similar. So there's not a huge difference, but it's something you can do by calling your energy retailer and just rearranging that over the phone to be a business account. But once we know you're a business account, then we can start working through these additional steps to try to help make sure that you're on the best rates.
I'm going to be devil's advocate here and say I'm going to ring up the energy company and they're going to go, no, you're only 6 months into a 2-year plan. You can't change to a business rate until that 2-year plan is up. Is that likely?
So if you're a household account or a small business account, you can change your plans really easily. There will be a termination fee, maybe $100 or $150, maybe only $50 in the second year, but it's really easy to get out of these plans and to switch. And often the cost savings you can get by switching to a different retailer far outweigh this sort of $100 termination fee. So it's pretty easy to switch over. And if you are incorrectly classified as a residential account, you can break that plan, I believe, and go into a business account as you should be classified.
Awesome. We're just going to take a quick break here and go to some community service announcements. And when we get back, we're going to look a little bit more into analysing your bill, saving you money, and also saving the environment. We are here on Triple H 100.1 FM. We'll be back after this. Yes, very important community service announcements. Quite interesting there that we had a little bit about recycling, reusing, because today's topic is all about sustainability and business. And I have Gareth Huxham here from Huxham Energy Consulting, who is imparting a great deal of expertise and helping us, well, never mind the environment, helping us save money as well, which is what it's all linked to. We talked about inputs and outputs when it comes to savings in your business at the beginning, because, of course, you save money by reducing the amount of energy you consume, and you save money with reducing the amount of energy or carbon that you produce as well at the back end. But we're talking a little bit about bills, because this is often the impetus where people approach an energy consultant or approach someone like Gareth to help them out. What sort of analysis should you be doing? And what can we do as a business to really, do we have to hit the phones? Do we get on to a company like iSelect? But what information do you need first before you can start really shopping around?
Yeah, so let me just get a little bit technical for a moment. So if you're a small business, the electricity market defines a small business as someone who uses less than 100,000 kilowatt hours per year, or 100 megawatt hours per year.
Hang on a sec. So we've got a small business according to the ATO, a small business according to Treasury, a small business according to the energy market, according to ourselves as well. So, yeah, the definitions are crazy, aren't they? Can we just have one definition that just says you are small because there is one person, maybe?
And even better, the definition of a small business in New South Wales dictated by IPAR changes quite a bit. So it used to be 160 megawatt hours, now it's 100. It changes all the time. So
is that because of the plans that they're trying to set you up on, that they're trying to define people so that they can attack the market in a different way?
Oh, look, the idea is a large business and a small business in the electricity market is treated completely differently. It's like chalk and cheese. They couldn't be more further apart. So if you're classified as a small business, you're on a small business account, and it's like a household or residential account. This is a really straightforward contract. You can call up and organise it over the phone. As we said before, you can break it really easy, maybe pay a small termination fee. It's really simple to set up. A large business contract, that's when you're entering the free electricity market, and that's when you're bidding on future electricity prices. And if you go into a 2 or 3 year contract, you're locked into that. You cannot break that.
Yeah.
And these are really hectic.
So you basically got people who are share traders in energy. And they'll play the market.
Yeah, it's all about bidding on the energy retailers. They bid on the market, they look at the wholesale prices, and they give you the best price they can at that particular moment when you sign up to a contract, but those prices will change on a daily basis. So that's a whole nother level. And you can get cost savings. If you are a big business, it's important to know you're a large business and to be on that large business contract, because you can get really good cost savings. And that's why IPAR changed the definition down to 100 megawatt hours per year, because they want to encourage small, medium-sized businesses to go into these large business contracts to enter this free electricity market and try to get a better price. So there's a good cost-saving opportunity for those businesses around that energy usage threshold. However, it's a lot more difficult to manage and to look after.
So speaking of energy usage, is that what we start with? We look at our bills and stop looking at the money and start looking at the actual kilowatts that you use.
Yeah, so the first thing you want to do is get one bill, whether it's a quarterly bill or a monthly bill, and just work out roughly per year, are you using more or less than 100,000 kilowatt hours per year?
Should you also be looking at seasonality? Just for purposes of analysis?
Oh, look, the more data, the better. If you can get a whole year's worth of bills and actually just add them all up together in Excel spreadsheet, that's what you should be doing. And first, are we above 100 or are we below 100 kilowatt hours per year? I think most people targeted by this program would be the smaller businesses that would be that lower than 100, so we can focus on that for now. And now every electricity meter in Sydney or New South Wales or Australia is not billed in the same way.
Yeah, this is what I get confused because when I have a gripe and I have I want to yell at someone, I usually ring up an energy company. But the first thing I'm going to do is go, I want someone to come out and read my meter. Is it really achieving anything, or am I just wasting people's time? Is that a thing you can do to try and make sure you're being billed properly?
It's important to look to see whether you're getting an actual meter reading or an estimated meter reading. So for a lot of small businesses, where's your electricity or where's your gas meter located? Sometimes it's really easy for the meter reader to get to. Sometimes it may be within your property and they may not be able to find it. So I've worked with businesses where for 6 months or a year, they keep getting these estimated reads. So your energy retailer is saying, well, we couldn't get to your meter, but last year you used about this, so we're going to guess you're using about that this time.
And then we're going to add 15%.
Oh, look, I know what's going to happen. They'll finally take a meter read maybe a year down the track and you get a corrected bill. And they may say, hey, we owe you lots of money. Or they may say, hey, we underestimated you owe us a lot of money.
I'm going to assume that they're bound by legislation to get that correct, right?
They have to correct it at some point, yes. So it's very common that you will be issued an incorrect bill. You often get businesses where the energy retailers say, oh, we made a mistake, we need to reissue a bill, and you'll get an undercharge or overcharge.
So if you do want to demand for a meter reading, make sure you know where your meter is and that you're there so that the person can actually do the meter reading. Otherwise,
and if you do get your bill, just check on the back of the bill and you should see a little A for actual or E for estimated in brackets. You should see some sort of reference there just to make sure you're billed what you're actually using.
And then have a look over the 12 months and see, have I ever actually had a meter reading that actually gives me an actual where the correction is.
And that's a really quick, simple thing that everyone can check just to make sure they're being billed for their actual usage.
So once you've got that usage data and maybe you've got a bit of seasonality to it, you can see that it spikes in summer because you're using more energy or vice versa in winter if you're in a particularly cold building or whatever it is. Once you've got that information, is that all you need to then start shopping around?
No, before we start shopping around, we're going to get a bit more technical again. This is complex, but we'll try to step through it a bit. The next number you need to know, we've talked about whether you're a large or small business, and that's that 100,000 kilowatt hour threshold. The next number you need to know is, are you above or below 40,000 kilowatt hours per year?
Okay. Because
how you're billed, you build a different type of cost structure depending on your network tariff, and that is set up by your network operator, which in this part of Sydney is Ausgrid. So Ausgrid will look at your business and say, well, depending on how much electricity you use, we're going to put you on a different type of network tariff. So we're going to charge you in a different type of cost structure. And there's one below 40,000 and one above 40,000. And it's really important to know what cost structure you should be in and to make sure you're in the right one. Because when you switch over on that 40,000 threshold, there's a big difference in costs. And there's a lot of businesses who are being incorrectly charged. So to be even more technical, we're talking about the difference between the Power Smart tariff, which is for less than 40,000, and the Load Smart tariff, which is greater than 40,000. And there's a big difference in costs under these two different tariffs. So it's really important to say, are we less than 40? If so, are we on Power Smart? That's great. If we're more than 40, are we on Load Smart? If we are, then that's great. If we're not, then potentially we could be either saving or costing money depending on how the penny falls.
Okay.
So that's the really technical side to say you need to understand whether you're on the correct network tariff based on your electricity usage. And once you've got all that set up, once you know you're a small business, you say, look, we're using less than 40,000 kilowatt hours per year, so and we're on the Power Smart tariff, we can see that on our bill, we're happy with that, then it's time to actually start shopping around for the lowest cost of those electrons that you're getting from the power generator.
Okay.
So first it's about making sure, large or small business, then making sure you're on the correct network tariff and the correct cost structure, and then let's find the best deal. And I think we can finally get to how do we shop around for the best deal for that electricity.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got that data. I've got my pretty Excel spreadsheet. Everything's split up, and I've got exactly how much usage I'm doing, and I can see roughly what I'm using over 12 months.
Yep.
Do I pick up the phone? Do I start ringing around and saying, is this the best deal you can give me? Do I ring everyone and then go back to my original provider and go, this is the best deal, can you match this? And what can I expect them to say? Are they going to match? Are they going to just tell me, well, tough, you just go with that smaller provider and good luck to you? How does it work?
Yeah, so the best place to start is once you actually know what your usage is, so you know your total usage or you know your peak, shoulder, off-peak usage over 12 months, the best place to start looking is the Australian government website, which is energymadeeasy.gov.au, I believe. And that's where you can type in your postcode. You can say, yes, I'm a business account. This is my peak, shoulder, off-peak usage in the past month or 12 months.
Just to stop you there, we didn't mention that before actually. When you were looking at that analysis, you do want to make sure that they're split into three: the peak, shoulder, off-peak.
Yes, again, there's different types of tariffs. You could be on a general supply tariff when you're charged the exact same rate regardless of when you use it, or you could be on a time of use tariff where you'll be charged a higher peak, shoulder, and then a lower off-peak rate. So again, there's a different type of tariffs. And
it depends, I suppose, when you use that energy, that which one is better for you.
Exactly, yes. If you're using a lot of electricity overnight, then it's great to be in a time of use tariff because the cost of electricity overnight is very cheap. But regardless, as long as you understand what type of tariff you're on, it can help you sort of plan out when you should maybe schedule some equipment to be running. And say, hey, let's turn these things on overnight, or let's turn things off during these peak periods.
Yeah, I know that we you know, the people with the smarts and know about those things is running the dishwasher after when you go to bed, or running your washing machine. Let's apply the same principles to your business.
Exactly. If
you've got some high-powered server stuff going on with your computers and you know they're doing backups, then plan it for 3 o'clock in the morning when you're not going to not interfere with anything else, but also that you're getting the cheapest energy usage perhaps.
Yep. And when we're looking at the lowest cost of electricity, so the Energy Made Easy government website is a really good place to start. It's a government website. It's not a commercial. They're not there to try to sell you anything. They're there to try to give you unbiased, impartial advice. Being the government, they're allowed to recommend one or the other. All they're trying to do is, based on what inputs you give them, calculate that, say, well, we think A, B, C, D, E are probably the cheapest options, and they'll give you a bit of an estimate of what they think the cost would be under their plans.
Awesome.
So what I personally do is I'd use that as a bit of a guide and say, okay, the government website has said that energy retailer A, B, and C may have the cheapest plans. I then go to those energy retailer websites and I actually look at what their plans are. Now, many years ago, energy retailers would talk about their plans in very different ways, and it was very hard to understand, well, what is the actual cost?
Just like mobile phone plans, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But possibly, I'm not sure if it applies to mobile phone plans too these days, but the government stepped in and regulated and said, look, every energy retailer has to have a standardized energy price fact sheet that has to have the exact same information for all the different plans. It has to be standardized across the energy retailers. So I'll go to the energy website of, say, Energy Australia, Origin, AGL, Momentum, ERM, and I'll look for that little tab that says Energy Price Fact Sheet.
Energy Price Fact Sheet. Everyone remember that, because that's the important tab.
That's it.
Imagine it's not the biggest tab that's there either.
No, it's hard to find sometimes. But when you click on that, you're going to find a very plain looking, boring PDF. But that PDF is going to show you all the different rates, and every energy retailer is going to show you their rates in the exact same format. So that's when you can really compare which is the best rate for your business.
So you want to do it in two places. You want to get a broad understanding, a list, a shortened list from the energy, say the website again, sorry?
I believe it's energymadeeasy.gov.au. I hope I got that correct. But if you Google that, I'm sure you'll
Energy Made Easy, I'm sure they'll find it. There's this amazing thing called Google. And you punch that in, and then you find out your sort of top 3 or 4. Then you go to there, you find the energy fact sheet information. And then from there, then you pick up the phone?
Yeah, so there you may need to do a little bit of Excel work, not too much. Just type in the different rates and just go, well, this one looks like it's cheaper.
Oh, yes, because you've got your peak, your off-peak and your shoulder rate across the year, and you can add all those 3 numbers up, and then you can just punch in the rates that they have and find out, and then you can compare.
Exactly,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
So it's purely, peak usage times by peak rate equals peak costs, and then you say off-peak usage times peak rate equals off-peak costs. You add them all together and you go, hey, this one looks like the cheapest. And then you call that energy retailer. And if you're a small business, it's really easy to sign up to a new plan. You can do it over the phone in about 5 or 10 minutes.
I just suggest a couple of things as well from an admin perspective when people are signing up for a plan. Make sure that they sign you up on direct debits straight away, because it's really painful. Make sure you're getting your bills via email as well, because it's better for the environment, but also because it's easier to find bills when your bookkeeper is harassing you. I want the bill. You know, this is something that's hundreds of dollars. You need to have a tax invoice for it. And of course, energy retailers now need to provide tax invoices. So make sure you're getting your bills via email, and make sure that you set yourself up on a direct debit, maybe with a credit card if you can afford that, but just get the bills paid off immediately. You do save money. You immediately save, I think, maybe $10 or $20 per bill if you're paying them immediately on time. I know that Energy Australia, for instance, have that incentive for people to pay in advance.
Well, that's a really good point. When you look at the discounts, so every retailer will say, well, here are our standard rates, and they'll show those in the energy price sheet, and then they'll say, this is our discount, and it could be a guaranteed discount, which means no matter what you do, you're definitely guaranteed that, say, 10 or 15% discount, or it could be what's called a conditional discount. And they may say, well, here's a bigger discount, it's 20%, but it's only a discount if you pay your bill on time. So it's important you understand the difference to make sure you don't sign up for a really high discount that you may never actually get.
Yeah, and you need to be conscious of your cash flow as well, because we're not in the days where bills were really in the couple of $100s anymore. We're into thousands of dollars, and you need to be looking at, do I want to be paying those quarterly? Do I want quarterly bills, or do I want to go to monthly just to help with my cash flow so that I'm paying them off incrementally? I know some small businesses who will pay literally $100 every week towards their energy, and then they just pay the residual at the end of the year because they've estimated what it's going to be over the 12-month period. So it is a cash flow question nowadays, particularly for businesses who use a lot of machinery or who have high energy bills for some other reason. So factor that admin process into the shopping around situation.
Yeah.
So say, for example, if you're in a contract and you want to break it, are you pretty much locked in? I mean, unless you're doing that thing where you're moving from the 100,000 kilowatts to another or something like that. Is it in your best interest to break it, or do you have to sort of factor that in with the long-term analysis of the money that you're going to save?
Yeah, so more often than not, it is more cost effective to break your contract. And it's really easy to do that. You don't need to contact your energy retailer. All you do is you call up your new energy retailer and say, look, I'm with this other retailer. I want to move on to your plan here. And they take care of everything. Your other energy retailer, they may charge you that early termination fee, and it may be $50 to say $150. So you do want to make sure that the cost savings you're going to get by switching is going to more than offset that. As long as it does, then it's all good. Another, I think, a really good tip for a lot of small businesses. So a lot of small business accounts are billed quarterly and not monthly. And so someone will only come and read your electricity meter every quarter. And often when you switch to a new energy retailer, what they say is, okay, next time we come to your business to check your meter, that's when we'll get the next meter read, and that's when you'll switch you over. But potentially that could be 3 months away. And if you're paying really high rates right now, paying those really high rates for an extra 3 months could be an extra $1,000 or $2,000. So one thing a lot of people don't know about is that you can request what's called a special meter read. And what that means is you're going to this new energy retailer, you say, look, and it's only about $20 often, maybe $20 or $40. You say, look, I'll pay $20 or $40. I want you to come to my business as soon as possible, which is often in, say, 2 or 5 days' time, and get me onto your cheaper plan as soon as possible. So it's something that not many people know about, but if you do switch to a new energy retailer, you're being billed quarterly, it's often really worthwhile to say, look, can I get a special meter read, and let's get onto your cheaper plan and start saving as soon as possible.
Because you don't want to wait those 3 months.
The next meter read in
that's months. Right. Look, we're just going to take another short break and listen to the community service announcements. You are listening to Small Biz Matters with Alexi and Gareth. We're talking all things sustainability, saving you money, looking your energy through energy bill analysis. When we come back after the break, we're going to just check out the Small Biz Matters event calendar and look at some weather and traffic as well. But we'll also talk a little bit more about those smaller energy providers, and when we're shopping around, should we really be including them into the shopping around? You're listening to Triple H. We'll be back after this. And just before the break, we were talking about what information you need to have at the ready when you're going to be looking at changing providers. So if I'm looking at changing providers, I know there's been quite a few little guys coming onto the market. It's not just the Energy Australias and the Ausgrids and all these big, well, Ausgrid's the provider, so I get confused. But like little guys like PowerShop, are they reliable? Should we be concerned if we start signing up with people like that? I mean, when you sign up with a poor quality mobile provider, for instance, and you get bad reception, well, you've only got yourself to blame. Is it is it risky to do that? Are you going to get poor energy from these guys? I don't know. These are literally the questions that people will be asking when they're looking at shopping around. It's
an interesting question. So you're still going to get the electricity the same as always. I think the one thing to be aware of that the billing systems and the databases that have to be maintained to ensure that you're being billed correctly is quite complex, and it's quite an impressive data management task, and it does take a lot of skill for a business to do. And I've worked with a lot of my clients who have had billing issues, and we've requested some of the raw metadata and some of the sort of the base data and looked through it and gone, this is garbage,
literally
basically. Wrong. And this is rare. Most people are billed correctly. I don't want to set off any alarms, but look, I've seen this happen with some of the major energy retailers, with clients who are literally spending a couple of $1 million a year on electricity, and I'm going through their bills and I'm finding issues with them, and I'm like, ooh, I'd be looking after this client a bit better if I was you, to the energy retailers. And it's quite surprising that even the really big energy retailers can make small mistakes, but I've also seen it with some of these really small newer players too. I always try to find a bit of a balance where whatever region you're in Australia, there's traditionally been an incumbent energy retailer, where that's before the electricity market was deregulated. There was just one electricity retailer, and that's who you used. For example, in Sydney, that was Energy Australia. And whenever you have a market, I find the incumbent player, there's never that much of a cost incentive for that incumbent player to say, hey, we're going to have the best customer service and the lowest prices, because they know that everyone's been with us for 20, 30 years, and they're going to have to move from us. There's no real incentive or impetus that we really have to be the best. But these new players do have to say, well, we need to beat the incumbent, so they're going to offer the lower rates and a better customer service. And there's a lot of these sort of middle players out there, and that's where I tend to hedge my bets, where I try not to go with these really sort of new startups I've never heard of before, and I don't try to go with the really large incumbent energy retailers, but somewhere in between.
Are they listed on the government website when you're looking at that comparison?
The government website, I believe, will compare all plans through all energy retailers and list them in order of what it believes is the cheapest price.
Right.
So I guess my advice is that, yes, it's definitely worthwhile looking at these newer players.
Don't get stuck in old habits as well. Don't just think just because they're the biggest, they're going to be the best and they're going to provide me with the best. Because
if they're
time
the biggest,
and time again,
they're often not the cheapest. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But if they're the smallest, then maybe their systems and databases may not be the best as well. So, I don't want to recommend particular companies.
No, well, you can't.
I can't.
You're not allowed. Pretend you're on the ABC.
I won't. But it's hard. I think you need to sort of walk that balance with any sort of suppliers, I guess, of small business. You want to go, well, the most biggest established business probably isn't the cheapest. The newer players, maybe they're not quite up to scratch. So somewhere in the middle is good.
That's right. And you are going to take risks with everyone. You've got to get ticked off with anyone who's giving you poor service at some point. So, yeah.
Yeah, and look, no matter who it is, they can still screw things up. So
yes, exactly.
Let's treat them all equally in that sense.
So we've looked at our bill, we've analysed, we've shopped around, we found the best deal. We're happy with that. We've got ourselves locked into a contract we're quite comfortable with and happy with. What sort of things, give me some everyday tips and tricks that small to medium-sized businesses can do very easily to save on energy. I've got one. I'm going to say the first one. Turn off your screens at nighttime. Like actually shut down your computer. It's better for your computer to shut down, is it not? I believe so. That's what they told me at Apple.
I'm not an Apple IT genius, I can't say, but
it will save you energy. I mean, they say that, turning off all of your, and please correct me if I'm wrong because I'm just going on complete, soapbox jargon, but if you have those little lights on everything, the standby lights and the standby mechanisms, that's 10% of your bill. And I used to go, 10% of your bill, when our bills used to be $400 a quarter, or was that $40? They're not $400 a quarter anymore. They are double and triple that. It is now getting into hundreds of dollars a year that you can save in residential. I imagine as a business, that's huge. I mean, just by turning off stuff and making sure when you leave the building at night that the screens are off, that the radio is off, that obviously the lights are off. Is it going to make some significant savings?
It is. So this is an area I've been working in quite a bit lately with different businesses and with councils. And we're doing not just energy audits, but what we call a night audit or standby power audit. Ooh. So what we've done, we've looked through the interval data and looked at the time of use of when the electricity is being used. And for some businesses, we say, well, you're operating from about 8 a.m. to about maybe 3 or 4 p.m., say a cafe every day. And it's not that many hours over the course of a week. And then we look at all the electricity used when they actually got staff there and they're operating, and all the electricity they're using when there's no one there at all and it's shut down. And we're finding some sites where, say, 20, 30, 40% of all the electricity is being used
when no one's there.
There's no one there at all. But it's often quite hard to cancel all of that out. You may have a few refrigeration systems and maybe a few standby bits of IT you can't turn off. But yeah, there's definitely really big savings by trying to work out what has been left on overnight or over the weekend and how can we reduce that.
Weekends, of course.
And you're never going to get it down to zero.
2/7 of your day.
Sorry?
That's 2/7 of your energy is the weekend when you're not even there.
And that's a big thing too. And also when you look at solar, if you're a business and you say, well, we only operate 5 days a week, well, there's 2 days of the week when that solar is not going to be saving you that much, potentially just exporting to the grid. That's a whole nother story.
Yes, I was going to say we're going to need to bring you on again because we're getting within 5 minutes of the break, but we're going to need to bring you on again so we can talk about solar and Tesla. And I am very keen to pick your brains about where the future of that holds and then how small business can also implement that. But
that's very cool. Let's leave that.
That's a whole day.
In terms of tips, yes, I think we've talked already about how to reduce your costs, and that's without reducing your energy usage at all. Just by optimizing your bills, making sure you're in the correct tariff, you can get really big savings. And just an example, I'm just going to look at my computer here. Here we go.
Yeah, I was just trying to think as well because it's just when you're not around, what is it that's being left on when you're not there, and what can you do? I mean, obviously changing everything from halogen to LED, that's going to save you a huge amount as well. And making sure that you don't use outdated equipment. Don't use one of those fans that look like it's going to burn your house down, because a number of times I've been in to see clients and they've got one of those fans. It still works, but it's sort of 30 years old and it looks really old and scary, because my parents-in-law had a house fire. Didn't destroy the house, thankfully, but there was a fire because of an old fan that's basically caught alight in the middle of the night. So that's probably one piece of equipment that's good to keep up to date just for fire safety reasons. But smoke alarms while we're on the subject as well.
Got a smoke alarm.
Smoke alarms. In your business too, people don't realise that in terms of work health and safety, if you've got workers' comp and you've got people working in an office, even if it's just one person, you have to have a smoke alarm in that room. You have to. So everyone go out and get a smoke alarm because they cost next to nothing and they will save lives, and you've got to have them in the same room as your workers are working. Anyway, sorry, continue. You're going to tell me a case study of some good energy saving measures. Yes.
So this is, first of all, how we saved a business money without even worrying about, well, we did worry about it, but without reducing the energy usage, we managed to save this one business $11,700 ex-GST per year because they were incorrectly classified as a small business on the incorrect network tariff. So by going through all these different changes to how they're being billed, we're saving them $11,700 a year. And
were they one of those
guys?
Of
about 30%.
Oh my God. Were they one of those guys that are being classified as large when they should have been classified as small? And
they were basically everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong with that business.
Yeah, right.
So we looked at their bills and said, hey, there's lots we can do to help. And so now we know that we're saving them $11,700 a year. And now, from my perspective, it's like, cool, how can we use that money to invest in some energy saving opportunities? We know we're saving all this money. Let's use, if only a fraction of that, let's do some upgrades. So it's like, what's the most cost-effective way to invest some of this money into your business to reduce your energy usage further? And
what did you suggest for that particular business? What sort of ways can you reinvest that money into energy savings?
Yes, so with every site, it really is important to have a bit of a look around and see, where is the energy being used? What are our major energy users? With that particular site, it was a large IT, it's a data processing site where it was the banks of the data processor was using a lot of energy. So optimizing the air conditioning for that was a big one. With every site, you need to look at it. Are you an office where it's predominantly fluorescent tube lighting? Are you a cafe where there's a lot of refrigeration systems? Are you a manufacturing site? So you've got to understand, where is your electricity usage going? And let's target those big players. Is it something when you're looking at things in the tens of thousands of dollars like that, would that be an example of where you might recommend, if possible, to install solar? Long-term savings? Solar looks great. It's great to tell it's great to show your clients so they can see the solar on your roof. It's great to be able to promote that, but it's not often the most cost-effective thing to do. Often the payback on solar may range from at best maybe 6 years up to 10 years, and often we really try to focus on energy saving opportunities with a payback, say less than 1 to 3 years, because you've got a really short payback.
Yeah.
But with solar, there are different options for payment plans where there's not that upfront capital investment, where there's ways you can have a smart plan which can use the savings from your electricity to try to pay that off.
Oh, okay.
But,
well, as I said, we can definitely talk about that the whole time.
But in terms of, just to try to give you a feel that every business is quite different. So with the energy audit, it really is a detailed investigation where it's trying to work out for that particular business and that particular site, what is the major energy issue which is driving up energy costs and how do we address that? And I've got a case study here of a childcare centre, and this was a childcare centre as part of a larger strata building, and there was a centralised air conditioning system where it wasn't a standalone building where they had one little split system. This was part of a larger building, and it was also linked up together, and they didn't have a really good understanding of how their air conditioning was being used, and they had really high costs compared to their other childcare centres. So we went and investigated, and we looked at some of the raw meter data and looked at when is your electricity being used, and we saw that, hey, over the weekend and late at night, early in the morning, there's this really high usage. We think there's an issue with the air conditioning system, and so we identified that. We went through to the building management, we got that corrected, and what we found was that the air conditioning was just running all weekend, all night, early mornings. Every time you didn't want it to be running, it was basically running.
You're breaking my heart.
And just by fixing that with some really simple controls, it reduced, I'm just reading off here, it reduced electricity usage by 30%, and that's saving 24,000 kilowatt hours per year and saving them about $3,200 per year. And that's saving 24 tonnes of carbon dioxide greenhouse emissions per year. And this is the business that had no idea of how the air conditioning was being used, but we did the investigation. We found this is the major issue at the site. By simply amending the time clocks that's controlling the air conditioning system, they've reduced electricity usage by 30%. Very
simple. And I suppose on a really smaller scale, those time clocks are pretty good. I mean, yeah, if you've got a fridge sitting there that you're using for your office and it's empty all weekend, does it need to be on?
Yeah, look, we often find fridges or freezers, often secondary ones with nothing in them that are left on. If you have a business that has some refrigerated stock, if you have non-perishable items, so things that aren't dairy, things that say beer or soft drinks where it doesn't matter if the temperature increases a little bit, you can switch off those fridges overnight or over weekends, or you can install these timers or more specialty controllers which say, hey, the site's closed, we don't need to keep this, can of lemonade so cold, let's increase the temperature overnight. We'll ramp it back down tomorrow. Yeah. So there's lots of things you can do with timers and controllers to make sure your air conditioning is getting switched off. Your fridges, if they don't need to be on, they can be switched off. If you have those zip boiling hot water units that a lot of offices have in the kitchen,
where you constantly running. Yes, of course.
Yes, they're just keeping the water at 100 degrees all night. So there's really high energy and heat losses with this water inside 100 degrees. So switch that off for a couple of hours.
Wow, there's so much information, and we could really talk about this for at least another hour. And I'd love to have you on the show again, actually, just to talk about even further savings that people can do, and just a refresher on we didn't even get to talk about BBP, which is something that we talk about later on. I mean, this is great. I'd love to have you back on the show, Gareth. It's been immeasurable, the amount of information you've given us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And we'll see you all next week for Small Biz Matters, the half-hour program where you work on your business rather than in it.